cat is like running into my monitor and blocking the whole camera with her tail. Nutmeg. Yeah, I'm trying to film. Aww. Okay, let's try this for like the 5th time and see if Nutmeg stays out of. Oh my god! Oh my god! Nutmeg, what are you doing? Nutmeg. Why don't you sit right here instead of rubbing your face on my monitor and messing up the camera? Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about my top albums of 2025. Fashionably late as usual, but it was worth the wait because I added an extra 5 albums because I had extra stuff I wanted to shout out. And after some consideration, I'm going to be including like mixtapes or just like any like full-length project. I guess also for my like honorable mentions, I want to give a quick shout out to the Glitch Mob like compilation Give Us Shelter, which is really good, but I think all the songs except for one came out last year. So I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it this year. I wasn't like really listening to that stuff. I was listening to that stuff in 2024. My other disclaimer is that like I like to give a complete look at the album, and because of that, sometimes I get kind of negative and I focus on the flaws, just because I like to like highlight the strengths and whatever. But basically, I mean, these are all albums that I love. So even though I might be insulting an album, don't take it personally because I am a fan. And also just like don't take the placements too seriously. Like every time I listen to one of these albums, I want to like move it up in the ranking. Okay, that is it. Also, yes, I am aware this mic is awful. Last time, everyone who watched the video said your mic is disgusting and gross, and you need to change it, and it was horrible. And it's so if you think this video is unwatchable, then don't watch it. But unfortunately, I was not able to get another mic. I was just busy for the entire year. So okay. Honorable mentions, I got 2 quick honorable mentions. One is Never Exhale by Ditz, and I just love a good spooky post-punk album. And controversial take, but I feel like this is like almost like more goth than actual goth music. And no hate to goth music because I love goth music, but like a lot of that is like focused on like just like doing the voice and then having a good bass line. But like when you listen to early goth music like Bauhaus and things like that, it's all like really different from one another. It's very creative, just spooky post-punk music, and this kind of captures that feeling. So I really like that album. And then also Lust for Life, or How to Thread the Needle and Come Out the Other Side by Courting. And I almost put this for 25, but like I don't know, it's an interesting album. It's got a lot of theming about like sort of dichotomies and pairs, and Pause at You is like probably one of their best songs yet. And I also really like Likely Place for them to be the closer. This one gets held back because it's just like kind of confusing. Like there's essentially 2 intro tracks, and one is like a strange like noisy piece that just like, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like a full song, and it's like really out of place on the album. And I tend to like shorter albums, but this one just like really left me wanting more. All right, starting off at number 25 is Paper Lady, and this is a really cool atmospheric album. It has like the opener is really dreamy, reminds me of Always. I think that there's like sort of more, second song is more kind of twangy, similar to like the sort of alt country whiny stuff, but I wouldn't really compare it to country. But if you like Wednesday, you'd probably like something like that. There are a couple noisier shoegazy songs. And then also Joe Modern is incredible like post-punk song with just like this crazy guitar stabs, which is like one of my favorite things about post-punk music. Number 24 is Felt Sick by Feed Me. Feed Me is easily one of my favorite EDM artists. On Filth Stick, he loses a lot of like the gritty electro house and the like grand synth solos and even a little bit of the glitchiness of most of his music. But in doing that, this album is like, it's relatively speaking one of his weaker releases, but I'm still happy with the songs that we got. And I think that all these songs undeniably sound like Feed Me. And I think that challenges the listener to sort of recontextualize what makes Feed Me. Also, I think that a simpler and poppier album did make more sense given that the last album, his self-titled, was basically like maximalist, just the most Feed Me an album could possibly sound. And I think that also after all these years, it's very clear that Feed Me likes pop music, makes a lot of poppy music. And another thing I like about this album is that we get a lot of like trap slash dubstep songs, which is nice because I feel like he's moved away from that for a while. Number 23 is Blindness by the Murder Capital. On Blindness, the Murder Capital really find their sound and deliver basically like all bangers. As someone who heard their last album, Gigi's Recovery, and thought, wow, if only they can make an album like this, except like way more hype. This is basically that exact wish granted. But be careful what you wish for because I think this album lacks a lot of the emotional weight we got with songs like Crying, Ethel, Gigi's Recovery on the last album. And like, at first, I was really slow to come around to that last album, but now like that we got this one, I'm like, oh, I actually didn't just want all bangers. It's still a really solid, really good album, lots of great songs, and if you like the Murder Capital, I have no doubt that you are going to like it. Number 22 is Total Sellout by Jay Stevens. This is a compilation made up of 3 parts, 2 EPs, Sellout 1 and Sellout 2, and then a couple of brand new tracks added on. And Jay Stevens is a pop and R&B artist, and it's just all these songs are really fire, especially the ones that like are a bit more electronic, like Precious and Afterbody. And I just like kept returning. I think these songs are great. Even like the ones that are really poppy, like even like Boyfriend Forever, which is like not the type of song I would usually like because it's so poppy, but she's just really talented. I really enjoyed this. Number 21 is Humdrum by Home Counties. They are an ex-post-punk band from England. Their last album took their like post-punk elements and just like really retooled them into a dance pop album, essentially. And on their sophomore release, they go further into pop music. So they still retain some of those post-punk elements, but this album is just like a lot less abrasive than their previous stuff. And they fill in that gap with just a much heavier focus on synths. I'm very pleased with the end result. We get many of their best and catchiest songs to date, so I can't complain. At number 20, I have More is More by George Riley. George Riley's mixtape More is More is a great collection of Y2K dance pop nostalgia. She tackles a variety of genres, including house, jungle, Miami bass, R&B. She's got a lot of personality. I especially like the lyrics on Shotgun Wedding. I feel like the quirkiness, her kind of quirky personality really comes through on Private Life. On this one, she switches up her vocal style. The beat is like really off kilter and kind of wacky, and the vocals are just like way too quiet. Like it kind of like sounds a little bit like shitty, but it is just like brimming with personality in my opinion. So I feel like I would not have it any other way. The production throughout this album is really, really good. I especially like the song Slow, which is sort of like a slow burn house song. Amazing. number 19, I have the self-titled album by Dr. P and Flux Pavilion, two dubstep giants. And this is the unfortunate point where I have to pause and talk about the question of what an album actually is. Because ultimately, an album is just a collection of songs, and while I like albums that are cohesive and well sequenced and thematic, that's not the only thing an album can be, and I feel like our modern understanding of an album doesn't align with necessarily what an album originally was. Like it came to be this sort of cohesive collection of tracks, but originally it was just like tracks that were bundled together. And I'm saying all this to say that this album is not the best listen front to back, in my opinion, but that's okay. Because, to judge dance music solely on its ability to be listened to when, just lying down on your bed, staring at the ceiling, doing nothing, I don't know, that's kind of, uncharitable and, disingenuous. Now, while I do separate the live performance from the studio album, these songs are created to be played live, and they sound amazing live, so, that does impact my perception of this album, as I think it should. And as for, the album itself, these songs are great, and I like all of them in their own right. I think Dr. P and Flux are both extremely unique artists. They're giving the fans what they want, just dubstep bangers the whole way through. And I love to put it on, even when chilling, but I also think at 50 minutes in length, it could use more variety if I'm gonna listen to it the whole way through. At number 18, I have the BPM by Sudan Archives, and the BPM is a super creative exploration of dance music, combining elements of pop, R&B, and hip-hop. Each song is different from the last. Some of the highlights are the house banger of Bug's Life, pop anthem, My Type, and whatever bizarre but amazing thing is going on with Miss Batman.
Every song that fades out is still fading out forever.
At number 17, I have Chit Chat by OK Cool. This OK Cool album feels like my taste in indie rock just boiled down to a super killer short little album. I love the noisier tracks like Wah Woo Wee Wah and Splitting. I love the emo sensibilities on Sledding, giving it some structural variation, some nice guitar riffs, and some awesome drums. And I love the slightly poppier, glossier songs like Safety Car and Fading Out Forever. At number 16, I have The Heat Is Slowly Killing Me by Aunt Katrina. Aunt Katrina is a band from Maryland, by the way, so shout out local. And it's fronted by an ex-member of Steal a Little Horse. And this is the debut album, but only because their last album, Hot, was retconned as EP. And I think this is not as good as Hot, because especially, so seeing them live, seeing 5 or 6 people just up on stage, all discordantly playing these glitchy little indie pop tracks, bedroom pop. It was really fun. It was really cool vibe. And I think they ditched some of the a little bit of glitchiness. They ditched some of the post-punk elements and some of just the kind of noise elements. Because that last album just felt like a really creative collage of sounds coming together. This one is a lot more focused. This album goes further into the sort of twee, short pop rock songs, and the instrumentation is really pretty. It's very layered. The end result is still very creative. It's still got some glitchiness. It's got a good amount of distortion. The songs are more complete here, and I think that you can either listen on a more sort of surface level and just enjoy the pop songs, or you can kind of listen in to all the different levels and the creativity that they have going on. which I think is pretty fun. I think that Ryan singing has also improved some. He's got a really like pleasing, soft voice, and it fits the vibe that they're going for very well. And I wish it were a bit weirder like the last album, but it also has a lot of strength in its own right that the other album doesn't have. So definitely enjoyed this one.
'Cause I'm not the girl that you knew you thought.
At number 15, I have Easier Said Than Done by Full Kids on their third album. Full Kids continue to evolve. Each album they do feels less DIY than the last, with their sound getting cooler, getting dreamier. And on this one, they really turn up that reverb. And they also have a lot of like distortion, distorted guitar solos. On their last album, their self-titled, they leaned a lot into their Midwest emo influences. And on this album, we get Full Kids' catchiest, loudest, and most powerful tracks yet. The emo influence is definitely still there, making all these songs very layered, very dynamic. But overall, this is a poppier sound than the last album. This album actually feels like it would have a lot of crossover appeal with like Paramore fans. Just banger after banger, a lot of creativity, great songs, and they really built on the foundation that they laid on their last album. And I think this was a very satisfying tale. At number 14, I have The Star of the Queen of Life by Debbie Friday. Debbie Friday is an extremely creative artist who got her start in experimental electronic music with an industrial tilt. She combined her electronic creativity with pop and rock and hip hop to give us her awesome debut album, Good Luck. Now, here on her sophomore album, she's pivoted to dance pop. And she's ditched a lot of the spooky noise aspects of her music. The opening track, 117, and All I Want to Do Is Party, is essentially like early 2010s EDM bangers. The song In the Club is a sick collab with the ghetto tech / Chicago footwork group High Tech. The song Lip Sync is very acidy. It's the most reminiscent of her older sound. It's very good. I think another sort of familiar sounding track would be Acadia with its moody, clubby atmosphere. I also like The Darker the Better, which is the only song here that's more of a rock song than an electronic track. It's got a really killer post-punk bass line, which feels like an homage to the sort of gothic industrial stuff she did in her previous work. But this is one of the better songs on the album, I would say, but it feels a little unceremonious as a closer, in my opinion. This album definitely slows after the first leg, but I really like the ethereal pop songs that Debbie delivers after that. I don't think I'd say that this is better than her first album, Good Luck, but I think what makes Debbie Friday such an interesting artist is her ability to keep reinventing herself and experimenting and exploring new territory, and how each song is different than the last one. And we would have not gotten bangers like Higher if she wanted to just play it safe. Also, I think her vocals and lyrics have a lot of personality. For 13, I have Fancy That, the mixtape by Pink Pantheress, and on Fancy That, Pink reinvents herself yet again, delivering what is without a doubt her best project to date. And while her past releases were heavily influenced by Y2K nostalgia, Fancy That is the one that is most dedicated to actually attempting to authentically recreate the sound of Y2K dance. The influence of Basement Jaxx in particular is not subtle at all, and I love it so much. Despite being an undeniably poppy mixtape, Fancy That leans much harder into electronic music than her debut album, Heaven Knows. Every song here goes so hard, and also I really love the just very British group vocals on Romeo. At number 12, I have Parade Parade by Aren't We Amphibians. To lead with my biggest complaint of this album, I think Aren't We Amphibians is a band that wouldn't really stick out in a playlist of Midwest. I think they're lacking a truly unique sound or maybe a wow factor or something. They're not fully there yet, but they're definitely a band I will be watching closely going forward. Because when you listen to this album front to back, it's clear that Aren't We Amphibians delivered an amazing emo album with great choruses, great guitars, some extra horns thrown in there, solid lyrics, just tune after tune. I am extremely impressed with this album. I'm constantly returning to it. It's great. I'm very impressed with the quality of this. Because sometimes I don't return the emo albums. You know, sometimes I'm like, this is good, but you're not bringing me back. And to do that for an entire album, because some of these emo artists have like one good song. Okay, I've been going off script. Let's continue. At number 11, I have Heartbreak Designer by Phoneboy. So if you don't know by now, Phoneboy is my go-to indie rock song for just like straightforward bass. And as usual, they deliver. We got a couple of small changes this time around to keep us on our toes. Primarily, a female vocalist joined the band, bringing their number of vocalists up to 3. As a longtime fan who has seen Jordan sing with them every time I saw them since 2021, this was incredibly unsurprising news, but apparently to some of the less intelligent fans, they seem to have disagreed, so I don't know, make your own judgment. The lead single, I Look Alive, on which Jordan is the primary vocalist, this is probably like the most Phoneboy sounding Phoneboy song ever. You know, I don't know. For other changes, we get a little breakbeat outro on Better Than You. We get a powerful, slightly slower paced track called Red Wine with some really nice, dreamy vocals from Jordan. Also, the title track is Phoneboy's most ambitious slow song yet. They are 3 for 3 with their slow songs. Honestly, I could take more than one an album because I feel like they keep delivering. We also get some great reverb on the opener Wayside, just like a really nice, big way to open the album. Also, On and On is a highlight, just straight bang. At number 10, I have Even Jealous Girl Is a Gun by Yule. This is their 4th album, and it kind of follows in a similar line as their previous album, Soft Scars. It is a fuller band album. It is very interested in 90s sounds, but this one is more in a sort of trip hop kind of lane, and less of the bigger, almost shoegazy type of stuff we were getting on Soft Scars. I really like the darker vibes on this one. I think that like you'll kind of oscillate from taking their sort of cyborg persona too seriously and not seriously enough. So Soft Scars, I thought I was less engaged with the sort of themes, and I think this album really captures the atmosphere that I want from Yule very well. And I think that there are some great bangers like Doo-Doo and Echo. Some of the other ones I really like, Tequila Coma. I like that distorted guitar solo. I like the slower songs too. I think Psycho feels like a throwback to their first album, Serotonin 2. And I think whole way through, you know, there's some good variety, some great songs, and definitely another good album from Yule. I think all their albums have been really good so far, except for the second one, Glitch Princess, which I did not. Number 9 is Fuck You Skrillex, You Think You're Andy Warhol, But You're Not by Skrillex, which is an album made up of 34 tracks, each flowing into each other around like a minute each. And it's just nonstop energy. It's so much fun, super creative, just amazing sound design as usual with Skrillex. And to close it off, we get a remixed version of Voltage, which is like really special for the longtime fan. Also, the DJ Smokey vocals are very funny and do not get old at all. So I appreciate that every time I listen to it.
The top whiner, 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 the top whiner.
At number 8, I have the mixtape Club Orthodontics by Sam Binga. So on this mixtape, Binga covers a lot of ground, combining genres of both UK and US dance music. He's from Bristol. We get grime, garage, drill, house, even Baltimore club and other East Coast club influences on this record. Now, I'm going to go off on a tangent talking about club music because, you know, I am invested living in Baltimore. I was really impressed with Sam Binga. I was impressed hearing him talk in interviews about learning about and reading books on the history of dance music when he got into it in like the 90s. I was impressed on seeing him collab with a local artist from Baltimore and raise money for a local charity. I was impressed seeing him like post a club remix he made of Bird Flu when he came here, and I don't know, it felt like he was like excited to come and play in Baltimore because of the influence the city had on the scene. Lots of people love to steal a regional sound, but couldn't care less about the people and the place behind that sound, especially when it's a place like Baltimore that has been unfairly maligned to no end. Anyway, this really is the bare minimum, but it is refreshing to see, given the fact that it is a lot rarer than it should be. Especially when we're talking about white artists, especially when we're talking about international artists. So, back to the music. Given that introduction, I feel like Sam Binga is very knowledgeable, and I think that you can hear that in his music. I feel like there is a level of, I guess, restraint shown on some of the club songs. I think many artists will go all out, just trying to like flood their songs with as many like common like club samples as possible. But Binga is able to be intentional with the elements he uses. I think on the flip side of artists overusing club samples, there are artists who will just do that like triplet kick pattern and then nothing else, and that also is very common. But the problem with those artists is that they are not capable of capturing the feeling of a club song. They're not capable of capturing the movement of a club song. Anyway, I think he's very talented. I think even if it's something small, like, oh, hello. So if you take a song like Step and Sway remix, which is really just like a very British sounding song with like a club kick, it's well executed. It makes me want to move. Whereas like a bad Jersey club song just, you know, leaves you feeling like kind of like upset and embarrassed and confused, you know? I think the most Baltimore club song on this album is No Flinch, which is easily one of my favorites. I think the vocals from Redders are great. Redders also appears on the banger that is Top Wina. Also, No Chase is one of the sickest grime beats I have heard in a long time. Also, the drill track that we get, Reductions, is great too. And tangent, but I feel like EDM artists should make more drill. Like, I feel like we need more people making stuff like Igloo Ghost. Not that this sounds like anything like Igloo Ghost, but, you know, because simplifying things, but like UK drill is basically a fusion of trap and grime, which are two genres that electronic artists already like to produce. So, you know, anyway, I talked way too long about this album. It's great, it's bangers, it's fire, it's club music. Put this shit in your DJ set, it will go off. At number 7, I have Whispers in the Speech Machine by The Laughing Chimes. The Laughing Chimes deliver an incredible 80s-inspired jangle pop album reminiscent of like the Smiths. I'm very impressed with the singer's voice. He does this sort of like gothic, deep voice, or maybe just like an 80s kind of voice. But he pulled it off really well. Like it sounds very natural to him, and as someone who listens to goth music where I feel like the voice often does not sound very natural. I was very impressed, and I think that some songs it's a bit slower, some songs he sounds a bit more nasally. I think the vocals are great, and ultimately it's got some great guitars, it's got some great jangle, and it's got some great tunes to back it up. Cats Go Car Watching was my most played song of the year. What a track! Number 6, I have Singapore Dreaming by Subsonic Eye. You knew I had to put a band from Singapore on this list. This is Subsonic Eye's 5th album, and it's incredible. On their 3rd album, Nature of Things, Subsonic Eye completely recreated their sound. They discarded all the synths, they discarded a lot of the reverb, the dreaminess, and they went for a much more textured, jangly sound, which fit in with the album's exploration of themes of nature, the natural world. Their 4th album, All Around You, was tonally a lot darker. It was about technology and modern life and work, so it had a lot of contrast with the themes of Nature of You, but I felt like sonically there wasn't that much progression in the band aside from a couple of particularly interesting tracks, I think the opener and closer I thought were pretty unique. The changes were more in the tone rather than the instrumentation, in songwriting, so it didn't feel like it was evolving too much on the previous album. Thankfully though, with this album, that is not the same. I think they have done a lot to work on their sound. It is their most kind of produced album, most professional sounding, but it works really well because this is also the catchiest songwriting they've had to date. Great choruses, great riffs, and despite these production changes, the guitars are just as lush and beautiful and textured as ever. And I think that the organic harshness of the last 2 records has been turned down a bit, but it also allows Subsonic Eye to focus on just writing really pleasant and layered, summery indie rock songs. I really like the vocals on this album. The verses on Being Productive really stood out. Also on Situations, they have the female and male vocals layered, which it sounds so much better than Kaka the Cat on their 3rd album. It's hard to say, especially since Nature of Things was my 4th favorite album of 2021, but Singapore Dreaming might be their best one yet. At number 5, I have Post Heaven by Jadu Heart, and this is their 4th album. Maybe their 5th, but I don't count that one as an album. I think it's like an EP or something, right? This is a breakup album inspired by the duo's romantic breakup after being together for 9 years, which is longer than the band has even been around. And in line with current trends, in line with the Yule album, it leads into those moody 90s breakbeats paired with the ethereal synth. A lot of the songs are short and kind of underbaked, particularly the more chill songs on the album, but in my opinion that actually works in the album's favor because it shows off a lot of ideas in a short amount of time. Still though, overall, I think the album could be a little bit longer. So to compare this album to their previous album, Derealized, which I've actually come around to a lot more since I talked about it on a previous Album of the Year video. I think Derealized has arguably their best songs to date, but I think it lacks stylistic focus. I think it doesn't differentiate itself clear enough as like a unique work and cohesive work within the discography. And I think Post Heaven is the exact opposite. It is by far their most focused work, their most thematic, most unique work, with the most cohesive sound, and it sounds very different from their previous stuff. But it probably has the weakest songs out of any of their albums. Also, I want to add that they are amazing live, but you have to see them as a headline. Do not see them in a massive venue. Do not see them opening for Fontaine DC. Diva is like an incredible singer. She sounds I thought she sounded like the exact same in person as she does on the tracks.
It's out of mind, those things that hurt you.
At number 4, I have Patience Moonbeam by Great Grandpa. Yes, that is a Benson Boone reference. And this album really shocked me. Despite a lot of slower, less catchy tracks than the stuff I usually listen to, I could not keep myself away from this album. I kept coming back, and usually an album like this, I go, oh, that was a cool experience. That was a cool album. I see why people like it, but I'm not going to listen to that every time. I'm not going to go back to that. The album's too slow. That's too cinematic. That's too, I can only listen to it if I'm really focusing on the music. But not this. I mean, these songs are great. This is a beautifully arranged indie album with some subtle emo and math rock elements underscoring the whole thing. Really lush instrumentation, thoughtful lyrics, and every song is different from the rest.
What doesn't work turns to air on the hotel floor.
At number 3, I have The Sound the Body Makes When It's Still by Hot Mulligan. So, while I do hope to see some evolution from Hot Mulligan on their next album, when you get an album full of just incredible emo bangers, you can't. This album does feel a little less creatively inspired than their previous album, Why Would I Watch? But if I had to choose between the two, I would choose this one to put on the majority of the time because the songs are all super catchy and they go hard as hell. Now, despite being a small step down from Why Would I Watch overall in the songwriting department, do not write this album off. I think Monica Lewinsky, yes, that is the name, is probably, okay, this is an unserious sentence, but I think Monica Lewinsky is probably the most emotional song they have ever made. It's very good. Yeah, great album. At number 2, I have the incredible album by Nina Geraci called I Love My Computer. Now, if you're a longtime fan of her like me, you may make the mistake of thinking this is her 4th album because she's previously released a 10-track deluxe EP, a full-length mixtape, and a compilation album. But this is actually her debut studio album. This album falls on the heels of her Girl EDM project and is a similarly bright, fun, and glitchy release. This album leans further into early 2010s electro house, and the songs on here feel more focused and a little less crazy. Also, they more prominently feature Nina's vocals. The songs Fuck My Computer and London Song are easily my 2 favorites here. The latter is an amazing opener, managing to be silly while simultaneously capturing the primary theme of the album and just throwing you into it with that drop. A drop like that in 2025 is insane. It really reminds me of Promise Me a Rose Garden. Do you guys remember that one? Or even like Addicted to a Memory by Zedd. Just like super gritty electro stuff. Also, Cyrac is a super sick techno song. The part where it does the switch up reminds me of that Porter Robinson song where he's like, what if I made an electro house song and then it sucks because electro house is just noise and I'm better than that now. I make art now. What if it's like that but good. And the closer, All At Once, is a throwback to Nina's older sound. Amazing album, tons of creativity. Now, unfortunately, as Wolfgang Gartner's biggest fan, I got some records, but they're downstairs. I need to acknowledge my disappointment with some of the positive response to this album because, I don't know, if you know me, I'm always talking about this. Because Nina leans heavily into early internet themes and visuals on this album, many have interpreted I Love My Computer as being Y2K and or hyperpop. And I was hoping this album could translate into interest in electro house and the artists that make it and the music that inspired this album. But that seems to not be the case. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I have a lot to say, but I don't want to hate too much. Also, rumor has it that she's got a full-on Wolfgang Gartner-style Complextro remix in the works. So we'll see what the future holds, and if someone hears it and says, wow, hyperpop artists are so creative, I've never heard a song like this before, she's so original, she's so, if I hear that on TikTok, I might actually fucking kill myself, but we're not going to go there because I'm being positive today, because I'm happy, and this is the list of my favorite albums, and I just feel like I've gotten hate my whole life for being a Wolfgang Gartner fan, okay? And now his music is back, and they're not gonna acknowledge. No one's gonna acknowledge Wolfgang Gartner. They're gonna be like, if you like Nina Giraci, you should listen to Two Hollows. My number one album of the year for 2025 is Return to the Spectrum of Intergalactic Happiness by Zeds Dead. Zeds Dead are finally back with their second proper studio album, and this album explores their wide range of styles. It's got drum and bass, dubstep, house, and more. And the unifying theme is their interest in sampling old media, much of which comes from the public domain. The title track in particular samples this like old 50s TV program about proper party etiquette. It's very Mystery Science Theater. The synths on this album are very beautiful, and it's just like an adventure to listen to. Like, it's really, it transports me somewhere. It's very cinematic, and I think they've nailed the vibe that they were going for. The song Fall Away really showcases their creativity and sound design, and I Can't Make It showcases the hip-hop influences of classic Zeds Dead. The song Angel is a throwback to Drink the Sea era Glitch Mob, which is just kind of insane to hear. And Sweet Memories is possibly the best song they've ever made. When I imagine the quintessential Zeds Dead song, Zeds Dead dubstep song, Sweet Memories is exactly that. Great album, worth a listen, definitely recommend. This is my top album from 2025. All right, that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. If you got this far, let me know your album of the year in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on my list. Let me know your thoughts on my microphone. Just any engagement is good engagement. And yeah, last year I was predicting my album of the year in case I did not make this video. I'm going to do the same thing, even though I'm pretty confident I will be making a video next year for my 2026 album of the year. But so far, the Couscous Heaven album, Music for Angels, is amazing, and it is going to be very high on my list. I don't know if it will be my album of the year. It will be very high, so I recommend you listen to that one as well as all the other albums on this list. But Scotty, what's your favorite album of 2025?